Okay, for physical education today, we're going to do some gymnastics. I'm going to cover a few terms and positions. The straddle is one of the positions where your feet are apart. This is the straddle position. Sometimes it's used for people when they stretch. You might reach to one side or the other. Some people can touch both toes at the same time. You can also support yourself on the floor. I've seen people like slide their hand on the floor from one side to the other. So you can stretch a number of ways from the seated straddle, whether your hands go forward on the floor or they could go behind you to push you forward more. You don't have to always lean. You might just sit tall and stretch from the straddle position. And then it's easy to transition into other things like the butterfly. And this pike position is the L shape where the hips have the bend. So sometimes the seated stretching can be done from the pike and the straddle. Those are two of the words I want to teach with the gymnastics unit along with the tuck. So here I'm in a tuck. When I tuck my knees in, I'm in a ball. And then the motions that we do are like bend and extend. So when you tuck, you're bending. When you extend, you're straightening everything out. So we frequently do meatball and spaghetti. It's really a way to bend and extend your whole body. And continuing on, the straddle and the pike, I later realized, can be done as jumps. So when you jump, you can do a star jump to straddle. So you might start with your hands and feet together. I realize that when I land the jumps, when I land, I have to bend my knees, and everybody should do that to absorb the shock. So I have to bend my knees before I begin so I can explode up, kick my legs out, and try to land with my knees bent. So the star jump is like that. The tuck jump would be like that, and a pike jump would be like that. So there's the three positions: pike, tuck, and straddle. And the straddle, I remember doing straddle and stretch, like this when I was young. Again, you can go to one side and to the other side, and you can even have your arms do full circles from this position. So in addition to the straddle, the tuck, and the pike being useful for static positions, you can see that while you're jumping, you can employ the position, and even for advanced moves using a ramp. So I realized that when I teach a somersault, this wedge piece works fantastic. So I want students to know how to squat at first and put their hands on the mat, and tucking the chin towards the chest, trying to look at your shoes. One way to roll when you tuck the chin is to land on your shoulders and not let your head and neck touch. So there is the tuck as I roll. I realize some people have easy time going into the somersault from a straddle. And this can be on a flat mat, not just on an angled mat. But if I had to straddle, if I was a small child, you could possibly straddle on top of the ramp, or just straddle and roll like that. The third position was a pike, so I did a tuck roll, a straddle roll. If I did the pike, this is more advanced. My body stays bent in the air, and I land on my shoulders, not on my head and neck. Okay. The other rolls to start with would include the log roll, laying straight and flat with your arms on your chest or out. I like here, you can protect your face, and then you just roll to the side. It's the log roll. So in addition to the log roll, I like to teach the shoulder roll, where instead of laying all the way down, you might put this arm down and you roll on that shoulder, and your neck and head never touch the mat. Okay, if I show it from this side, I would roll my arm and shoulder. My head never touches the mat. So those are a few positions. Also, if I had to teach one more, I thought that having the thumbs near the ears and palms to the floor would help from this position. You have to get this hand position for the back bend to work. A lot of times I see people with their hand not flat on the floor. It's some other way, and they try to go into the back bend. It's not going to work. So you really have to build the strength and flexibility in these wrists to do some of the moves in gymnastics, like cartwheels and handstands. But one of the fun ones is a backward roll, where if you know the position of your hands, you can start seated, and you can even do this laying. So let me just move the mat a little bit. To lay first, I would practice positioning my hands Point the elbows up, get the palms down. Here's where I would pike. It's push with my hands to get off the mat. That's the backward roll with the pike. I also could see people not laying and just kind of staying in the tuck position and rolling from there. So that's the seated back roll from laying and then just from sitting. So I think that about covers it. There's a couple jumps, couple rolls. I'd like you to try those.